YouTube, this is Steve from Average Joe's Fantasy Football. And week 7 of the NFL season is almost over. We've obviously got some games from Monday night, but I wanted to put out some waiver wire players that you should consider grabbing for week 8 because there are a lot of teams on bye, of course, injuries, and some players that really stood out this week. So let's jump into it. Now, like I mentioned, these are players that I believe you should consider grabbing for week 8 of the NFL matchups. Look, there are 6 teams on a bye this week, and that's quite a bit. It's going to be essentially the biggest amount of teams not going to play this week. So you've got some players you really may need to add this week. Now, teams are going to be off are going to be the Cardinals, the Jaguars, the Lions, the Raiders, Rams, and Seahawks. So quite a few players will not be available, and hopefully these players are going to help you out. Now, we're going to jump into the quarterback position, and the first player I'm going to mention is Jaxson Dart. I have mentioned him several times in my waiver wire videos, and yet he is still available in 58% of leagues. You've got to give him credit. They're going against the Eagles, and last matchup against the Eagles, he was fantastic. Even this matchup where he played against the Denver Broncos, who I thought realistically were going to be a pretty good defensive team, did a great job in keeping Jaxson Dart as far as being a stud this week. I thought he was really going to get shut down, but Dart proved me wrong. He did amazing. And again, the fact that he's still available is kind of surprising because of the way he's been playing. Last week against the Eagles, 23 points. This past weekend, 28 points. He's been a phenomenal. He's thrown 4 touchdowns in the last 2 games. Yes, 1 interception against the Denver Broncos, and they almost pulled off the win. But Jaxson Dart is still out there. He's been playing great since he's gotten into the starting lineup. And now he's going against the Eagles, who, yeah, I think we'll play him tougher. I don't think he's going to put up 23 fantasy points, but I do think he's going to get to that 15 to 17 point range. A nice little player to pick up, especially with all the bye weeks that are going on. So I would absolutely try to grab him this week if I can. Now, another quarterback I'm going to mention is going to be Aaron Rodgers. I've talked to him about a few weeks ago, but Aaron Rodgers actually done a really good job as of late. Right now, he's quarterback 16 coming into week 8, and he's done a really good job fantasy-wise. Look, he just put up 22 points against the Bengals. He had 17 points against the Browns. He's doing really, really well. I mean, he had 4 touchdown performance against the Bengals, who, again, Bengals did phenomenal, but he played really, really well, and he's available in 72% of leagues. He's got a matchup against the Packers, which I think is going to be a great game. Yes, the Packers have played well. They obviously destroyed the Cardinals when it came to that defensive pass rush. Micah Parsons finally had an amazing game that I think a lot of people are looking forward to. But with that said, I think this is a nice little revenge game. I know he's been removed from the Packers for a little bit, but I do like this matchup. I do think the Steelers are going to turn this around and have a pretty good game. I don't think they necessarily win, but that's a whole other story. And the last quarterback I'm going to mention is Joe Flacco, who again did just play against the Steelers, who had a phenomenal game. Flacco with a Jamar Chase and a T. Higgins is like the perfect matchup for him. And again, the matchups that he's going against the Patriots this week, who are a pretty good defense. Now, don't get me wrong, they played against the Titans, so I don't really think much into that. But Joe Flacco, since coming into Cincinnati, has played great. Obviously, he's only played 2 games, but 18 points the first game, 26 points the second game. He's thrown 5 touchdowns in those two games. And right now, having the fact that you've got Jamar Chase to throw to and T. Higgins, and I think actually Chase Brown's going to be the benefactor of all of that, makes Joe Flacco a nice little streamer this week. Now, jumping into the running back position, I only got 1 running back this week. And realistically, the running back position it's hard. There's not a lot of players available for you to even consider grabbing. So with that said, the only running back I have is Kyle Monange for the the Bears. I'm not sure what ended up happening with the whole DeAndre Swift. I know he was injured, groin injury. Maybe they just kind of limited, but Monange actually had 13 carries, 80 plus yards. He had a touchdown. He had a couple of receptions. Maybe they're going to start introducing him more into this offense. I'm not really sure. I guess, like I said, the Swift injury may have played a factor into that. But maybe if you are a DeAndre Swift owner and you've got him in your lineup, maybe you want to pick him up just as a nice little backup. But realistically, there's really no running backs to really go after because right now, they're all taken. I mean, unless a severe injury happens, which we hope doesn't, there's really not a lot you can grab this week. Now, as far as the wide receiver position, I do got a few receivers here. I've got Marvin Mims Jr. going against the Dallas Cowboys this week, which is a nice little juicy matchup because, again, Dallas does not play well in the secondary. But the reason I want to mention Marvin Mims actually has gotten the second most targets behind Courtland Sutton. So they're going against a Dallas team that should put up a shootout against the Denver Broncos. Even as great as Denver Broncos defense is, Dallas's offense has played phenomenally. So with that said, if that is going to be the case, Marvin Mims is a nice little streaming flex option this week because, again, the targets he's been able to see, he's right behind Courtland Sutton as far as those options. And again, he just put up 15 points this past weekend against the Giants with 7 receptions and 80 receiving yards. So it's awesome for him to see. He's not consistent enough. Now, like I said, the only reason I mentioned him this week is because they're going against the Dallas Cowboys, and there is an expected chance and opportunity of a shootout. So with that said, if you're looking for a flex play, I really like him this week. Another player, again, I've mentioned him multiple times, is Wan'Dale Robinson. Now, he's not available as high as like a Marvin Mims or something. He's still available, though, in 33% of leagues. He's coming off his best season so far with averaging 13 fantasy points in 2025. He just put up 15 points against the Giants. And again, going back to Philly, he put up 20 fantasy points, and he's got that rematch up there. So he's getting plenty of targets. He just came off a 12-target game in week 7. He's getting all the targets his way. He's essentially the wide receiver 1 safety valve for Jaxson Dart, besides, I guess, Scatabo. So, and you can't really trust anybody else on that offense. I mean, yeah, the tight ends are having some great games. Theo Johnson, Bellinger, like they're getting some work in there. But Wan'Dale Robinson is a great option. He's right now wide receiver 19 in fantasy. So the fact is, you should be having him on your team if you have the availability. Now, the last receiver is going to be Romeo Doubs. He's only available in 32% of leagues. So again, options probably not there. But I like to mention him because, again, he seems to be like Jordan Love's favorite receiver right now. Like, he's getting the options and the targets this week. So I really like what I'm seeing out of him. They're going against this, like I said, the Steelers. But in the last 3 games, 8 targets, 9 targets, 8 targets. Like, he's gaining force fed. Now, it's not always being the result that you'd hope, right? Obviously, 3 weeks ago against Dallas, he had 29 points. The week before against the Bengals, 10 points. He's coming off a 13 point performance against the Cardinals. But the targets are there. It's expected to see plenty of them. Again, going against Steelers team that has not played great defensively. So I do like Romeo Doubs as a nice little option to grab. Now, jumping into the tight end position, this is going to be 2 players here. Oronde Gadsden, who is available in 96% of leagues. I mentioned him last week, and yet he's still available. And now he's coming off one of his best games in his 2 really starts so far. He definitely looks like something that Justin Herbert and this offense is going to involve. I know it's only been 2 game stretch, but with that said, he's more talented than Disley. He's a great option outside of Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey. And so for me, maybe because the Chargers are just playing behind or something like that, and that's kind of what you're hoping for. They're going against the Vikings, which could keep maybe the Chargers behind again. We'll see how that plays out. But the fact is they're throwing the ball more than they would like to. Obviously, they don't have Marion Hampton back, so they're kind of figuring out the whole running back situation, and they didn't make any trades or anything like that. So it's really going to be put all onto Justin Herbert's shoulders. And, with, again, the options of Quentin Johnston and Keenan Allen and Ladd McConkey on the outside, Gadsden is actually the one that's kind of being forgotten, but he is the one taking well advantage of it. He had 7 receptions of 160 receiving. I mean, he played phenomenally. And again, that's 2 weeks in a row. He's had plenty of targets his way. So I really like him as a nice little pickup. Again, with all these bye weeks going on, he's a great tight end to get. And the last tight end is going to be Kyle Pitts. I know he's probably not available, but he is available in 33% of leagues. So there's a possibility. Going against the Dolphins, he's coming off a great 13-point performance. Obviously not amazing like you would like to see. I would love to see Kyle Pitts, being introduced more into the offense, but he's tight end 14. It's not horrible. I'd like to see a little bit more. Like I said, he's only averaging 10 points a game per seat in the season, but he's had some duds and he's had some great games. So we'll see. I mean, he had his highest targets this past weekend, with 10 targets against the 49ers. So we'll see if they, again, bring him more involved in it. But with Drake London and Bijan Robinson, it's hard to, be force-fed 8 to 10 targets. But I do love what Kyle Pitts has been able to do. And realistically, I'm going to pick him up if I can, because the rest of the season, he's got some really good matchups. A lot of the matchups he's going against, a lot of these teams are struggling against the tight end position, so I really love him this week. Now, as far as the kicker position, I got Eddie Pinheiro, who I've mentioned before, coming off 11-point performance. He's available at 38% of leagues, so it's a little bit tougher, but they're going against the Titans, the Texans this upcoming week, who I do think will put up some numbers against the 49ers, so there will be opportunities for Pinheiro to have some kicks. But again, he's been phenomenal. I love what he's been able to do. He's been a very good kicker ever since Moody's been pushed away, went to Chicago. Another kicker is going to be Nick Folk. Love what Nick Folk has been able to do. I know the Jets obviously are a team that you're not really like worried about them putting up a lot of points, but they are consistently at least getting down the field to allow Nick Folk to get some field goals. So again, really good kicker going against the Bengals, who are obviously going to force the Jets to try to score and try to keep up. We'll see how that plays out. But Nick Folk is available in 98% of leagues, and I love what he's been able to do as well. And as far as a defensive specialty team, I would say Indianapolis Colts are probably the only team worth grabbing this week. There might be a couple others, but they've been phenomenal the last 4 weeks. They're actually leading in fantasy points the last 4 weeks. They're available in 51% of leagues, going against the Tennessee Titans, which is, again, a matchup the Colts should obviously dominate and put up. I mean, the Patriots just put up phenomenal points and outing against the Titans. So again, really good matchup for the Colts. They are available in 51% of leagues. So those are my waiver wire for week 8. Now, of course, we're not talking about the Monday night games. There might be some other additions, but with the games that are slated, I want to get some players out because we got to start working them. Week 8's here, and we've got 6 teams on a bye. So hopefully this helps you guys out. If you guys are new to the channel, make sure you guys are subscribed. Make sure you guys like the channel as well. We appreciate everything you guys do. Hit me up in the comments down below if you have questions, trades, comments about matchups or starting, whatever it is. Hit me up in the comments down below, and I'll check you guys out next time.